All right, so we are going to start our new lesson on geometry. So we've moved on. We've finished with the first chapter, and if some of you guys are still having issues with that first chapter, let me know, and I will give you some Excel problems that you can use and work on your own time to help you out, to help support what we've been doing. The geometry aspect that we're going to do now is pretty simple. Most of the time, all our students do much better with the geometry section than they do with the actual solving problems. The two things you're going to need to have to be successful in high school is graphing and solving multi-step equations. So we've kind of moved on from the multi-step equations. We're going to do some graph-related issues on geometry, and then we'll get to graphing our multi-step equations in a later chapter. So the Common Core standard we're looking at is 8th grade standard G5, Geometry 5. We're going to understand the concept of similar triangles and identify similar triangles. So go ahead and push pause while you copy down your objective. Your objective is, I will learn the definitions of congruency and when to apply them. So there's two things that we're going to be doing. We're going to learn what congruency means and then how to use that when we're looking at congruent triangles. Push pause, copy down this information, and when you're ready, we'll continue. All right, so I know this is a lot to write down, so I'm going to need you to push pause, but I want you to copy everything that I have written down here, and when you're ready, push play, and then we'll go over it. But I want you to write it down first. So go ahead and push pause now, and then we'll go over it. Okay. So in geometry, two figures or objects are congruent if they have the same shape and size. That is like the most important thing right here. If one has the same shape and size as a mirror image, and that's also going to happen later on in this chapter. So you have to remember mirror image. So remember, if it's congruent, the size and shape does not change. And I don't want you to think about congruency in terms of what you see, but we're going to look at congruency in terms of what the symbol triangle congruency, triangle A, B, and C is congruent to triangle D, E, F. This right here tells us that they're congruent, not necessarily your visual representation. I want you to really make that clear. Okay, this statement of triangle triangle congruency is what is going to make that true. Okay, so sometimes looks may be deceiving. Okay, just understand that. So some important information that we have to talk about is that line segments are congruent if they have the same length, same size, same shape. So every line segment looks pretty much the same, but the congruency aspect would be the size. Are they the same size? Then they are congruent. It may not look in the same direction, but they're the same size. They are the same. That makes them congruent. Now, angles are also congruent if they have the same measure. So when we measure an angle, we're going to measure the distance here. And let's say this is 40 degrees. If we have a right angle, it's marked by a box, and the measure of that angle is always going to be 90 degrees. Okay? So angle measures. So if you have another triangle, let's say the box is this way, but the sides are the same, this is still going to be congruent. Okay, even though my triangle is flipped as a mirror image, it is still going to be congruent. Circles are also congruent if they have the same diameter, but we're really not going to look at that. I just put that down there, and it's a good definition to have because later on it will be important. Okay, make sure you have everything copied down. We're going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so here we have two triangles. They're kind of connected. And the statement that says triangle QRS is congruent. So this is how we say things are congruent, like a tilde and an equal sign. Okay, this is my symbol that represents congruency. So we're saying that triangle QRS is congruent to triangle SWX. And even though visually they look like they might be the same, we don't want to say, oh yeah, they're the same just because it looks the same. We want to follow what the statement says. Okay, so when we mark this as congruent, we're going to use something called a mark and an arc. Okay, so our marks and our arcs are going to tell us that it's congruent. And I like to follow the order of the statement. So this tells me that angle Q is my first angle, angle R is my second angle, and angle S is my third angle. So in this triangle, I have angle S, angle W, and angle X. So those numbers here is going to tell us how many arcs each angle is going to have. I like to start with arcs. Other people like to start with marks. For me, arcs are easier because it follows a numerical pattern that I'm able to see and visually represent. So if I say angle Q is 1, I'm going to find angle Q and I'm going to give it 1 arc, right? So angle R is 2. I find angle R and I'm going to give it 2 arcs. And you guys should just kind of be watching right now. I'll give you some time to copy this on your notes and write it all down. Angle S is my third angle, so I find angle S. And I don't want to find all angle, I just want the S that is inside of the boundaries of my triangle. And I'm going to give it 3 arcs. Okay, pretty good. So far, so good. So now I'm going to go with my arcs. It says QR. So I'm going to find QR, that's this line segment. Okay, so I can kind of put a line under QR, and this is going to give me 1 mark. Then I'm going to say RS, which is my second line. RS, that's going to get 2 marks. Since a triangle only has 3 sides and I've already marked 2, logically, the last side is going to get 3 arcs or marks. So that tells me that Q, R, and S are going to be marked the way the statement tells me. So now I'm going to look at my congruent triangle. It says angle S. Now remember, I only want to focus on the part of the angle that is inside this triangle. Okay, so angle S is going to get 1 arc. Angle W is going to get how many arcs? 2. And angle X will get 3. Okay, so I'm going to start again with my first line. My first side says SW, so I'm going to go SW. That's going to get 1 mark. My second set of letters is WX, and that's going to get 2 marks. And then my remaining side is going to get 3. And that's only true with triangles. If it's a quadrilateral or any other shape that is congruent, you're going to continue in the pattern that it's given you in order by letters. So order matters, okay? Let's write that down. Order matters. For some of you, maybe drawing an arrow saying that we're going in this direction might be helpful. For some of you, just numbering your triangle or your letters on your congruency statement would be more beneficial. It doesn't matter to me what you do as long as you get your arcs and marks in the correct place. Okay? So go ahead and push pause. Make sure you copy all this down and then copy down the next example that we're going to do. All right, so hopefully you've got everything copied down and we're going to work on this one. Now, if you notice, looking at these, they don't look the same, okay? They don't look the same at all, but they are connected. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to follow what the statement says. The statement says triangle CAB is congruent to triangle CJI. I'm going to number them. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So angle C, now that's not here, okay? We're talking about the angle that is inside the triangle. So it's inside of CAB, so it has to be this angle here. That's going to be angle 1. Angle A is going to be my second, and angle B is going to have 3 marks. Okay? So the line segment CA is going to have 1 mark. Line segment AB will have how many? 2 marks. And how many marks is line segment BC going to have? I'm hoping you said 3. Oops. That was funny. Let's move that back where it was. Oh, there we go. 3. So now let's do my second and congruent triangle. Okay, so if you're, let's go ahead and actually give you that arrow. For some of you, that's going to be beneficial, and you can go all the way around in this case, but you don't have to. So let's go ahead and do this next congruent triangle. It says triangle CJI. So first one, C. Now remember, we want to be inside the triangle. Gets 1. My next angle is J. Good. And that gets 2. And my last angle is I, and that gets how many? Good. 3 arcs. Beautiful. Let's do our line segments. Line segment CJ gets you 1. Line segment JI gets 2. It's my second one. Right. And my final line segment that doesn't have any arcs gives me, or marks, gives me 3. Pretty simple? It should be. And we'll have all period tomorrow to work on these. So make sure you have exactly what I have. Push pause if you have to. Copy it down. Make sure that it looks this way. Use a straight edge when you're doing this so that you get some nice clean triangles. And when you're ready, push play and we can continue. Okay, last example. I'm going to just go ahead and have you guys copy it down. So push pause, copy it down, and then we're going to do this one together. So make sure you have this copied down, and when you're ready, we'll continue. Okay, so perfect. I'm going to label them 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3. So what do you notice about these two triangles? What about this line segment here? They both have line segment WX, don't they? So because they share a line segment, it's going to be congruent because it's the same exact line segment. So whenever you see something like this, you know you're automatically going to give that a shared 1. Okay? Just wanted to throw that out there. But let's go ahead and mark what we're doing. So we have WXY, so WXY. So my W angle has to be only the section that is inside this triangle. I don't want to go out into the other triangle. X is my second angle, so that'll get 2. And Y is my third angle, that's going to get 3. Okay, so my line segment WX we've already done, right? WX gets 1. So my second line segment is XY, and that'll get how many? 2. And my final segment on this triangle will get the third mark. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this one. Remember, angle W has to be inside triangle WX and F, so WXF. So we're only going to mark this part here. I could mark this whole thing, but right now we're just going to focus on what is inside that triangle. I don't want to go outside of that triangle. My second angle is X, so I'm going to find X, and I'm also going to give it 2. And this is very similar to angle W in that you only want to give it the marks or arcs for what is inside triangle WXY. So my third triangle is going to be F, and I'm going to give it 3 marks. So we've already got WX because it's a shared side. My second line segment is going to be XF. So I go WX and then XF. XF will have 2. And my final segment will be FW, and that will give me the third mark. Sound pretty simple? These are really good examples. I hope you have them all written down in your notes. Push pause if you have to catch up. And when you're done, we shall work on similar triangles tomorrow in class.